Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Lenz VO Podcast. My name is Mike Lenz. I'm an entrepreneur and a full-time professional voice actor and audiobook narrator. My goal is to share with you stories from some of the most amazing and inspiring people from all areas of the voiceover industry to help you achieve your dream of becoming a professional voice actor. So please leave me a review over on iTunes and join us over on the web at mikelenzvopodcast.com to be notified of each episode when it comes out. Now, get ready to be inspired. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mike Lenz VO Podcast. Before we jump into the show, I want to share a great discount from Voice 123. In the show notes, I'll have a link for a 15% discount on a new Voice 123 membership at the $395 level and up. I've had tremendous success on the Voice 123 casting platform, and I do have an affiliate partnership with them to provide this amazing discount to my podcast listeners. The discount can be found in the show notes, so check it out. On today's episode, my guest is Carmen Seantel. Carmen's voice has been described as warm, soothing, and expressive with passionate undertones. She enjoys bringing projects of all genres to the ears of readers. She believes in the power of audiobooks to make the safe space of an author's words more accessible to all readers, and this drives her passion as a narrator. Carmen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Carmen and I met, I guess, on TikTok, on social media. We started following one another, and that's how I came across her. And really amazing posts. So if you're not following her on TikTok, follow her because she's documenting her journey as she goes along. And it's been a fun and exciting journey that I know we're going to dive into. So, Carmen, to start off with, if you could just share with our listeners about your journey into this wonderful world of audiobooks.
Sure. I always make fun of myself because there's this, when you hit a certain number of followers in TikTok, you get given the ability to create a playlist or a collection. And so I was like, yes, I get that now, because oftentimes I'll get asked this question, like, what does it look like? How did you get into this? And I was like, okay, well, once I hit that number, I can create the playlist. So I hit the number and I was so excited to create the playlist, and I hated naming it because it was like my journey into VO. And it was I didn't like it. It sounded a little funny, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I got started doing the voice acting thing in November. No, that's a lie. I got started in summer of 2022. I have a really close friend who's a narrator, a voice actor. And I followed her social media. We chit-chatted like once every few months. We're those kinds of friends. We've been friends for like 20 years. And I was like, that's a really cool thing you're doing. Tell me more about it. And she was sharing, and she's like, you could do this. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I've always loved audiobooks. They're really cool, but I'm not an actor. Like, I don't know if I could do that. And she's like, you should just look into it. You love audiobooks. You love books. Just try. So I went out and I bought my microphone. I bought my AKG C214 on Facebook Marketplace, secondhand, $80. Awesome. And then I got an ACX account and, loaded that up. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I left everything alone from like summer 2022 until it wasn't until November of 2023 that I actually put out samples and started auditioning. So it took me a while to actually get into it. But her giving me that push, that motivation, that like, you could do it. Just go, just try. This is all you need. Just try. At least got me started. And then I was motivated in the fall of 23 going into winter. Yeah, went in 23 going into winter because honestly, I was just looking for a second job, a second stream of income. And I had a microphone. So I was like, let's do it.
When I tell people about ACX, most people are kind of a little bit shocked, that how easy it is to get on ACX and create an account. I'm like, it's free. They're like, what? I can just go on there? I'm like, yep. And I can just audition? I'm like, yep, you can. I'll always throw in the caveat that if you have the good fortune of being picked, that's when the panic sets in, because now all of a sudden you have to fully produce the book, and the tech stuff is all of a sudden incredibly daunting. I don't know if it was for you, but I know when I got my first book, it was a royalty share. It was 13 hours long, and I had no idea how to do the whole tech spec thing. I was like, really went from elation to panic that I'm like, oh my gosh. Unfortunately, this producer, I should say, she was a veteran of the ACX world, and she's like, look, I don't care how long it takes you. I love to bring new narrators into the fold. She goes, so you just tell me when it's done. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So anyway, how was your experience? Well, for a couple of things. What do you think was the holding you back from the summer to the November? Was it imposter syndrome? What was it that was when you went on and you created your account, but you didn't do anything with it
Mhm.
until November? What was that period like for you mentally?
I didn't have enough motivation. I didn't have the right motivation. I thought it was cool. My friend did it. It seemed really cool. And I grew up listening to audiobooks. Like when I have cassettes, man, I had my little boombox. I have things memorized. And in the tone of that narrator, like I remember specific things that I loved. So when I found, oh, you do this and I could do this. And it just was like a cool thing, but it wasn't enough to motivate me to take the time and invest the energy when I have family, and I have other hobbies and I have other things that I needed to devote my time to. It just didn't take precedence. It was like, yeah, this be a cool, fun thing to do, but can I really justify the amount of time it would take for me to really get into it at that moment? Because I knew, even based on the very preliminary look at ACX and preliminary look at ACX Facebook groups, I saw, oh, this is a thing. I gotta actually like study this. I ain't got that time. So I was like, maybe I just didn't have the motivation. But man, when you're looking for money, you find the motivation.
Yeah, there's a great quote that says, "When your want becomes your must, it changes everything."
Yeah,
And that definitely will be motivating for anybody. And
definitely.
I appreciate that because of what you're saying, because a lot of people will go into it without that expectation of themselves. They'll think, well, this looks like it's easy. We see that on social media. Make $1,000
Mhm.
an hour just talking into a microphone. They don't realize the level of A, competition, and B, the level of talent that you have to get work in the industry. And but you did your homework and you studied it enough on social media to say, wait a minute, I'm not going to just jump into this unprepared. I need to
Yeah.
be ready.
Like ACX, they put out, I think there's YouTube videos that ACX has sponsored or something where they put together a panel and they talk about how to create your ACX profile, how to create your samples. I watched so many of those. I timestamped and like followed those. And I was like, okay, so this is what you would need to have a good ACX profile. This is how you could put yourself out there. And I'm just like, even in those early stages in that summer time frame, I was like, that's just so much work and effort. And one of the things that I remember seeing was like, it doesn't matter so much that you have the best voice out there. It matters how much you're going to put into this effort, this work. You can have what people might call a mediocre voice, but do better than somebody with what people might call the best voice ever because you work and you put in the energy and the effort, which I just didn't have the time to do at that time.
Right. And you were realistic to know that that wasn't the right time for you. And I'll tell you, a lot of people will, yeah, they think, oh, you having a good voice that's the most important thing. And I just don't think it is. I think, can you interpret copy and can you take
Mhm.
direction in the voiceover world? Those are more important. I would rank them number one and number two,
Yeah.
and probably number three being your voice. You have a good voice because if if you can't do one and two, then three doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter if you have a good
Yeah.
voice. If you can't
True.
interpret copy, if you can't read words on a piece of paper and make them sound like they're not words on a piece of paper, then you're kind of not there. Doesn't mean you can't get there, but the expectation that just because I have a good voice means I'm going to be successful, I haven't seen that play out. Certainly not in the voiceover world, or I guess in the audiobook world as well.
Yeah.
So November comes, so 2023, you do dive in.
I do.
And then what was that experience like once you said, all right, I'm committed to doing this? How did that move forward?
Okay. So this is a story time moment. I is bad though. Like, okay, things happened in my family, in my life, to where it's like I definitely am looking for a second job. What can I do on my own time? What can I do that I can make my own schedule? What can I find? I have a microphone. Okay, well, I guess we're going to do that. Let's go back into researching. Okay, ACX groups, Facebook. Okay, the YouTube videos. Okay, read these resources and narratorsroadmap.com. And okay, cool. Samples. Go to projectgutenberg.org, whatever. Okay, find some things to read for samples. I didn't have my booth set up yet. I was like, if I don't just do it. I've been sitting on it for a freaking year. I'm not going to ever do it. Let me just try. So I go to plug in my microphone. Yeah, I don't have an interface and it's an XLR mic. And I'm like, what's an interface?
Oops.
I missed that step. So I was like, I don't care. I'm going to order an interface, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to record this sample on my laptop microphone. And I did it. And I have my initial samples. I still have them somewhere with my laptop microphone, but I was like, I need to do it. So I did it. I put those up. And finally, the interface came in time for me to start auditioning, within a week of putting up my samples. And so I'm like, okay, I got the interface. I did not have the booth set up because in that time frame where my booth is located, we discovered we had a little bit of a flood, a water issue. So they're mitigating the water issue. Then they find mold. So they're like, well, we got to do mold mitigation. And then they find asbestos.
Ooh.
So I was removed from where my booth was supposed to be, and I had all the sound stuff put together to do. I was removed from that area to a guest room where we had one of those like standing wardrobes with like poles you can kind of put together. You can get it from Walmart. And I
Mhm.
just hung all my clothes from my closet on there, squeezed in between these two little racks, and put a blanket over the top of them. And that was my first ever booth that I did my first ever auditions on. Scared the crap out of me. I was like, I'm going to audition now. I don't care if my booth's not ready based on everything I've read. And I researched, I went in the search bar and I was like, okay, how long does it take to like book your first job? Like, how long did it take for different people, right? I got it. I'm going to be 10, 20, 30 auditions away from my first job. That's fine. It's getting me practice. I don't even have a booth, a real one, in my opinion. In my first 5 auditions, I think I booked, maybe 10 auditions, we'll say, I booked like 3. Oh my gosh. And then within a month of, because I booked them the end in like, you hear back a little later. I think I heard back sometime in the middle, end of November. I got COVID in January.
Ugh.
And then my booth space wasn't actually available until like February, but like it was just a weird way to start because I was like, I've got time. It'll take me, maybe the holidays will pass and then I'll start booking. I'll start like actually getting where I want to go and we'll see if this is even something that'll work for me because I was only auditioning. I made this rule if I'm going to take the time, because it's taking time away from priorities in my life. If I'm going to take that time and energy and put it into something else, it better be given me back. And I'm doing this for the purpose of, for me, it was money.
Mhm.
It did not start out with passion. I love books. I love audiobooks, but it wasn't a passion thing that pushed me to do it. It was money. And I'm like, I will only audition for PFH. I don't care the genre. I will only audition for PFH, per finished hour projects. Um, so that was even more shocking that and I didn't care about the number. I was just like that. I had to justify it with even $1. I had to justify it.
Mhm.
So I was shocked that did kind of, it worked out that way. It was cool. It's just shocking. It was very fast.
A little bit. And I think that for most people, well, for some people listening, PFH, as you said, per finished hour, that means you're
Mhm.
paid a certain amount per finished hour of the audiobook. So some things on ACX, some books are royalty share, some are
Mhm.
royalty share plus, which you get where you get paid. You share on the royalties, and
Mhm.
they might pay you a small amount, $50, $100 per finished hour, to cover their costs of having to actually produce it. And then there's per finished hour, which is you actually get paid. And then once you're paid, you're done. Then the author or rights holder has the book and they go off and they sell it. So um, my first 5 books were royalty share. I had another job, so I didn't, it wasn't specifically that I needed to get paid money. I was just trying to get a body of work built up. And
Mhm.
and that's okay. Some people
Yeah.
are in a position where they can or want to do royalty share. It is a relatively good way to build up your body of work because you can do books that are maybe not as long. You are more likely to get booked on royalty share because there's more books available to audition for royalty share. The higher up in the dollar amount you go, the less books there are, which makes sense. And yeah, it's just a question of whatever personally is whatever your motivation is or what your objective is. Um, it can be I've seen it across the board. I've seen people that do a ton of royalty share because they get hooked up with an author that has a huge following and they make a
Mhm.
lot of money doing royalty share. But royalty share is kind of more of an art is more of a science than an art. There is a science
Yeah.
to it.
Because like you figure out, if it's worth, investing for you in that project. And I didn't feel like I knew enough about the industry to really be able to be good at selecting, what would be worth
Right.
it or not. And I'm like, even pennies at least is something I had to really mentally Man, competing priorities when you're an adult and you have a family and you have animals, because animals are family too. I have 6. I just had to really decide if I'm going to be putting this energy in mentally. I could not do it. I could not justify it without even pennies coming back to me that day, that moment, that time that I submitted that finished hour work, which might have taken me 7, 8, 12 hours per finished hour to complete.
That was my next question was, so you booked you got your first titles and they were
I
per
did.
finished hour.
They
And
were.
I'm assuming by what you just said that you edited them yourself.
Oh, yeah. My entire first year, I was doing all of my own editing, engineering, mastering, everything. I will go ahead and say a name because Brandon Keener is one of the best people I will ever know. I think it was my 3rd or 4th project, and oh God, the pickups I got back were extensive. Pickups meaning corrections, issues that were there in the audio, whether it was my voice or the dog's bark. I don't know. Okay, I'm new.
Something.
So
Yeah.
whatever it was, I was getting, hearing things, or I was getting a response from the author to fix certain things. And some of them I couldn't hear. I had no idea what was wrong. And I'm like, I can't hear it and I can't fix what I can't hear. And I went on one of those Facebook ACX groups. And for the first time, I wrote down, like, help me. What do you do? And Brandon Keener responded. And I was so new in the industry that I didn't realize there were nice people like that were willing to help just to help. And I thought he was trying to sell me a program. And I'm like, I'm just looking for, like, if you have the smallest little bit of advice that you're willing to part with for free, like, what would you do in this situation? One sentence would help. Because he offered me like an hour or half an hour to go over things and have a call. I'm like, I can't pay you. Like, I just, one sentence, if you have that. He gets on a call with me. I finally get past the you're not trying to trick me phase. We have a call. We become really good friends. And I honestly that was the book that I probably, if anything would have made me quit in that first year, it was that book. And he is the reason it did not happen. It was trouble. I remember being on a call, both of us listening to the same audio for 3 or 4 hours and him helping. It was amazing. Amazing community.
Wow. So was he
Yeah.
able to find them, or were you both finding
Yeah, no, he could
situations where you
hear.
couldn't? He
He
could
could
hear.
hear. He could hear at least 90% of the ones that I couldn't, and the last 10% we both had no idea what it was, but 90% was better than where I was before. So it was literally just training my ear and understanding how to read the waveform. Just the technical aspect of this was such a huge learning curve. Yeah.
Incredibly long. Yeah, incredibly difficult. That for most people, I know myself included, in the beginning, that is the most daunting aspect
Yes.
of it. And I think it's great that you did do it yourself, because ideally in the perfect world going forward, you want Jeffrey Kafer, who we are both know
Yeah.
personally. He had recommended, he was a guest on the podcast years ago when I was beginning my journey, and he said, look, if you're editing your own stuff, stop. I'm like, what do you mean? I can keep all the money if I edit all my own stuff. And he went through the math, about how it's going to take you how many hours to narrate
Yeah.
it, how many hours to edit it. Add it all
Yeah.
up, Mike, and then divide that by, the amount of money you're getting paid. And you're not your per finished hour, but how much hour of your time is worth. He goes, you're much better off having somebody who's a professional edit and master it, proof it, edit, master, and you're on to your next audition and on to your next book. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I wasn't going to believe him until I did get a little bit further along to the point where I'm like, you know what? I think I should do this, and have never looked back. But the value of doing those first 5 myself, and more, actually more than my first 5
Mhm.
myself, was invaluable, because you do learn to hear the things you couldn't hear. You do learn about how to see waveforms. You do recognize things, and you become really good at editing, which is inevitably a really good skill to have if you're a voice actor. So there's value in that.
When I started to work with engineers, I could hear things and I'd be like, man, I know how to fix that plosive though. I mean, I know I need to have better mic technique, but instead of re-recording, I know that there's a way to fix that.
Yeah.
Or I had a certain way that I liked my voice to sound. And I'd be like, oh, you know, and I remember this one engineer I worked with, I let him know, like, if there's any way you can kind of just make it sound a little bit more intimate, like just a little warmer,
Yeah.
because I knew they could, because I could.
Right.
and they understood my language enough to be able to to do it. And that's like right now my favorite engineer I've worked with because I'm like, oh, I sound good. I actually like my voice right now. But maybe I wouldn't have known to ask that question. I would just thought, well, that's my mic. That's how I sound. But because I
Right.
was able to manipulate and play with and um, understand the editing, engineering, and mastering process, I was like, oh, there are ways you can tweak it, you know?
Yeah, a good editor and a good proofer, they're worth their weight in gold because once
Definitely.
you connect with somebody, which I know you have, it's just the relationship you can develop with that editor, how they understand your voice really well, you understand their work process. It really does become this team effort. And
Mm.
I've said that before that recording audiobooks is not a one-man show. It's a team effort. There's a lot of people involved in making these books sound amazing. So we love our editors and our proofers. We love them.
Yes,
Um, so the journey continued. You started to get some work on ACX,
I did.
and
I did.
so how I do want to talk about conferences, but before we get there, how has the journey progressed now going into 2024, 2025? What has been the experience? What has the experience been like for you as you've now become not a beginning narrator who hasn't booked any titles to now somebody who's starting to book on a consistent basis?
Mhm.
What's that process been like for you?
I will do another shout out, and this will be for Ruthie Bowles, my friend that I've known since I was like a baby. We've been friends for I think we're getting close to 20 years now. Um, Ruthie was the one that I had talked to who had told me about, that she does it and it's really cool and you could totally do it. And so when I told her I was starting to do it, she got the messages of like, I booked my first role and I booked my second role and what am I doing? And so what do you use to edit? And like, so we talked a bit. We had a couple like sit downs and coffee and tea and dinners and just hung out here and there, not all the time, but here and there. And she, whenever we would sit down and meet, would always tell me, Carmen, you need to get on social media. My personal social media has like 32 people, followers. I think they're called on Instagram, but like 32 of those in my personal Instagram. My Facebook, I cap at 100 because I ain't trying to have that many people in my life. And my TikTok is strictly stalker mode because I have kids and I want to see what their friends see. So I go on there to stalk and see, just to see the trends and be like, okay, now I know what you're doing, kid. I get it. I saw it. That's all it was for. And I was like, oh, I really don't like social media, but fine. So she finally convinced me. And I go on Instagram first. This was in March. So we're almost coming up on like a year since I've been on Instagram as a narrator. And yeah, I followed her. I followed her friends. Like I said, you see who they follow. You trust their friends' judgment, and you go in and then you follow who they follow, and you just kind of build your network from there. By doing that, I was exposed to a program, a competition called The Next Dark Star, which was hosted by Dark Star Romance. And this lady, Brandon Davis Butler, I believe is her name. She goes by a girl named Brandon, had like a live Instagram information session where she was talking about this new competition that was going to happen, where voice actors, narrators with less than 10 titles were invited to be a part of this competition for romance narrators. And I'm like, that's cool, but I don't I don't think I had any romance titles at the time. I'm like, that's a cool opportunity for new narrators and somebody in my new circle of like 50, 30 friends
Hmm.
at the time sent it to me. And then Brandon Davis Butler sent me a message and she's like, you need to try, just audition. Okay, how do I audition? Sure. You have to be on TikTok. I do. So I ended up going over to TikTok and creating that account. And literally, just for the purpose of being in this competition, they say, well, you have to have live access to be a part of this competition. And on TikTok, live access means you can go TikTok live and live stream whatever you're doing at that time. I curse. Moving on. So I was like, okay, how do you get followers? And the Dark Star team would teach the competitors how to build their network on TikTok if they needed that to be able to participate in the competition. So I auditioned. I was one of like over 100 or so auditions, and they picked their top 26, and I was one of them. Yay!
Yay.
And then because of that, I built my following up to that number. I think it was like 500 or 1,000
I think
in
it's a
order.
thousand on TikTok. You had to go
A
live.
thousand,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So I built it to that number in order to get live access, and I was cut the first round, but I made it to top
Hey,
26.
that's something to be said for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then that's how I ended up being on TikTok in April of last year, Instagram in March of last year, and man, things just took off. Through Instagram, I got connected to Podium Entertainment, uh, which was I thought was a scam. She knows this. I've told the casting person there that I was very nice to them, but I was just like, because I was so new, I didn't recognize the name Podium, and I'm like, I have 30 people, 50 at most people on my narrator Instagram. Who are you?
That was probably
I did,
should have been if it wasn't a Ruthie call. Say, hey, it should have been like,
it was
yeah,
Ruthie who told me to reach back out. I was like,
yeah.
there's this message I got in my others folder from some lady, and I showed it to her. I was like, who is this? Like, I'm pretty sure it's a scam. She's like, Carmen, email them.
Now,
It was like a month later. Oh my gosh. So that was an Instagram thing that happened with through TikTok. As the months progressed, there was Spotify. A Spotify rep was looking at different things on lives, and I was like, I'm going to go live. I'm going to do a couple auditions. I'm going to just do it. It's going to be my motivation. I'm going to do it. And it just so happened that morning there was a Spotify rep who was watching lives on TikTok and sent me an email within like an hour of me finishing whatever I was doing that day, and was like, "Hey, we like your process. What's your schedule look like?" And then again, I didn't believe it, so that I researched the name and let me see if you're real, and they were. Um, and that's I'd say at this point 75% of the work I get is from those types of connections.
yeah. And for those again who are listening that might not know, Podium is a big producer of audiobooks, a lot of romance, which I'm assuming you've done for them.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean they do a ton of romance, and Spotify is relatively new to the audiobook world, but they're obviously Spotify, and
Yeah.
they purchase Find a Way books, I believe, and so
Yes.
they're very big now in the audiobook world. So, but Podium, a very big producer of a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah, I was completely shocked when that happened, especially with romance, because at that time, again, I hadn't done a lot. I did a lot of nonfiction.
Hmm.
I did quite a bit of the self-help version of nonfiction, and I had done a few like young adults, LGBTQ plus type books. Not a lot. There was like one or two, and yeah, very little fiction. And the little fiction I had done was just not very romance focused. So it was shocking,
Hmm.
shocking.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
again, the power of social media is, I believe, is becoming much more powerful because we have the opportunity as narrators to put our work out for others to see. And a lot of these producers are also active on social media, and they do know about these the live recordings that people do, and especially in the fiction romance genre, um, it's very popular because people want to listen to that and are drawn to that. And the nonfiction YA romance genres lend themselves to um, people who become very loyal to a particular author or a particular series or a particular style of romance, because there's multiple
Mhm.
sub-romance, sub-genres of romance, more so than, let's say, nonfiction, right? So you can get
Mhm.
actual like fans in the romance genre, which again lends itself beautifully to social media. And we both know people who, as we mentioned before we started recording, who started on social media and got the vast majority of their work and a lot of it from indie authors following
Yes.
them by, hashtag, book talk and that type of thing,
Mhm.
where authors are actually out there watching social media and looking for people to narrate their books.
Mhm.
It's a huge resource.
What I found also is the referral network is real and trusted and so valuable, and not just to get work but to get community. I in my life had never done anything performance. Never been an actor, never really thought that was something for me. Never been a singer, never did music type, any instrumental, nothing. So realizing that this is a competitive space, realizing that this is very performance feedback, people are going to listen to you and tell you what they think. Doing that alone is hard. We are alone in our booths 90% of the time. At least I am. And so having that social media connection it helped me to be able to build my community because I was following narrators, I was following voice actors, I was learning from them and watching their lives, watching their videos, consuming their content, listening to their struggles, and being like, oh, that's something to watch out for. I might face that in the next 6 months if I keep pushing forward. And so building out the community, the network of narrators that I got to know, voice actors that I got to know, that I got to trust, that I got to honestly start to call friends. It's just been so valuable. Even more than probably even more than getting work. Getting work is great. But like that is so valuable because it changes the quality, the efficiency of my work and my process by having friends I can just talk to.
Yeah, it helps mentally. It also helps, as you said, professionally. So when you have a
Mhm.
question, you can reach out to somebody. When you have an obstacle that you're bumping up against, you have somebody you can reach out to who's been there, done that. So yeah, the value is on so many
Mhm.
different levels. And
Definitely.
speaking of connecting and making those networks and actually meeting people in real life, we both attended recently APAC, which is the Audiobook Publishers Association conference, which was held this year in New York City. I've been a number of times. I'm pretty sure this was your first one. What was that like for you to be kind of submerged in this world of 600 of your closest friends and publishers and producers? How was that?
It was good. Like surprisingly, I was shocked at how much I enjoyed myself. Um, yeah, I was on the fence about going. Uh, I just it's not cheap. It costs money. You have to pay the ticket to actually attend the conference, and then you also have to pay the hotel if you aren't local, which was New York City. So you have to pay for a hotel or lodging of some sort. Hopefully, you can split the room, which I did. You have to pay the travel, the transportation to get there, and then you have to think about. I'm a budget person, so you got to think about the food and the souvenirs and the coffee and all the other things that you might need while you're there. And I'm like, man, money. What's it called? ROI. What's my return
ROI.
on
Yeah.
investment
Yep.
for this, right? Yeah. So after going back and forth, I realized, okay, the thing that really started to switch me over to be like, I should go was I have a friend. And again, man, this community is great, but I have a friend. Her name is Blanca Frappier. Oh God, if I said her name wrong, I'm sorry. But she is a audiobook narrator who was a finalist to receive an Audie in the erotica category. And I met her in the Next Dark Star competition back in like April of or May, whatever, of 2024. And here I find out that she's been freaking not just nominated, but like she's a finalist
Finalist. Yeah.
and she's gonna go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go support her. She's such a sweetheart. And I believe, I might be wrong, but I do believe if she's not the only one, she is one of the only people who was nominated this year and may have ever been nominated, who not only narrated, but managed, produced, engineered, did all of it. She did all of it. Now it was her and two other narrators, but she did the production herself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, I want to be there to support her. And then I found out, I was fortunate enough to be selected to be a part of the Penguin Random House mentorship program. I found out that my mentor through the program was also nominated. And I'm like, oh, like now I know two people who are nominated and they're both going to be there. Okay, there's personal connections. I won't be alone. That's good. And then I found out more people in the community that I've been close to and been able to build friendships with were going to be there. And that for me was like I won't be alone. I won't be the only new person. And I get to support these people that are going to be there. I think I'm going to do it. So that was my decision. And then when I got there, I did not realize how valuable knowing people or being familiar with people would be. I have crowd anxiety. I have social anxiety. I have a dog who is trained, a service animal who's trained to assist with those things, but I didn't feel comfortable bringing him to New York City. So he wasn't with me, but there was a lot of skills and things that I've learned through therapy, plus having my list of people that I knew because I looked through the names. I looked through a list of 600 attendees and I wrote down all the ones that I thought I could recognize, or at least if I saw their name, I could be like, I know you from somewhere. That so helped to kind of regulate and balance my emotional state. Um, and so, yeah, it was just so wonderful being able to connect with and see people that I had, connected with virtually.
It's always amazing to see somebody in person that you know on social media or even follow on social media, whether you've had, direct interaction with them, to realize that they're actually real human beings. And we kind of know that they're human beings, but to see them in person, it's kind of almost like a surreal moment, to see
Mhm.
these people and actually be able to interact with them. So I think that's such a valuable. Not only is it valuable for community, but also, again, those that aren't familiar, APAC is where producers and publishers come together with narrators. So this is coming together for really the only time in the year where you're actually able to potentially walk up to or get into a conversation with someone who might hire you. And
Mhm.
again, I've never gone to these conferences with the intent of that being the purpose, because it has to happen more organically, in my opinion. And you kind of have to go into it with a Zen approach to, you're going to see who you're supposed to see, and I'm going to be in front of who
Yes.
I'm supposed to be in front of. But the connections that I've made with people who have ultimately hired me has been so instrumental in my career that I just would always recommend that somebody, especially if you're new to the industry, to go, because
Yes.
not only do they have the new narrator meetup where you get to meet all these people, and the first time I went, then I was a new narrator. I had, I think, maybe 12 or 13 books under my belt, and that's where I met my first union production company casting director through a act of God. Ended up in front of her, and I've been
Yes.
working consistently with them for the last 6 years. So
Wow.
that doesn't happen. And maybe it happens, but it doesn't happen in that way if I don't go to APAC. So you've got to
Yes.
put yourself, you got to go to the watering hole. You got to go to where the people are that are potentially going to hire you. And like you said, the icing on the cake is that you just get to solidify and or make new friendships that not only are good for you personally, but also great for you professionally, because you get to
Mhm.
make contacts of people that are going to potentially refer you for work as well, or recommend you to other people that might hire them. So it's altogether a great experience if you can get over that very real obstacle, which many of us have to one extent or another, that social anxiety of getting off that elevator and you're just jump into this deep pool of literally 600 people. And it's very overwhelming.
It's extremely loud. There were so many times, man. My day one was a half day, but day one I ended up on the wall, like you just stand on the wall. You're at the new narrator thing, and there's a lot of people there. So it's like, okay, we did it. I talked to 5 people. Yay! There's a wall, and nobody's on that wall. There's nobody over there. I'm gonna go stand on that wall for the next 5 minutes. I'm gonna give myself a little break, but not actually
Self-imposed
escape.
timeout for
I'm gonna
yourself.
do
Yeah.
this. I go over to the wall and I stand there and I'm like, okay, breathing. People are walking past, kind of looking, not looking. Everything's fine. I'm just breathing. And then this narrator comes up and oh my goodness, he is wearing purple. And I love me some purple. He's got this just fancy purple on. And he's like, is this wall taken? I was like, no, you can
No,
stand next to me. And I met him and we talked, and just a really nice guy. But there were times like that happened throughout where you can see people who are taking their little time out, but they're not like, time out, don't talk to me. They're like, we get it. You need a timeout too. Come on. Like
right.
it was really sweet. And it was nice to know like you're not alone in that moment of uh everybody's kind of feeling it. There was, oh, I did the stupid thing, man. I did the stupid thing. I felt good walking up to people I knew, and saying, like the casting directors who found me on social media and being like, "Hi, I researched the crap out of you because I couldn't believe it. Nice to meet you. Thanks for casting." So I did that with a couple. It was really nice meeting them and just being able to tell them, "Thank you for seeing
Oh,
something."
I think
And
that's wonderful. I don't
it
think
was
that's
so
stupid.
cool.
Yeah.
No, the stupid thing, because
Oh,
that was
okay.
the
That
good
hasn't
thing.
happened
That
yet.
was the good thing. No, those were the good things. The stupid thing was when I walked up to people I didn't know. I only happened once. I caught myself. But I was like, I'm gonna do it. I can't say this was a successful APAC, a successful conference, a successful put yourself at the watering hole, but you didn't even take a sip. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna walk up to somebody that I don't know, and they have the ability to hire me, and I'm gonna let them know I'm hireable. Oh God! So I walk up to the table, and my opening line is, "Hi, I'm Carmen. I'm a narrator," because they've never heard that before. Oh, it was just not good. It didn't, I'm not saying it ended. I came back to the table later and things got better. But
Mhm.
man, that opening pitch was awful because it was pitchy. You don't pitch. It was stupid. I'm glad I only did that once and I hopefully fixed it later when I met that same person again. Will not ever do that again. That was stupid.
That is so
Stupid.
funny. Well, I literally just put a TikTok post up yesterday that said mistakes are just proof that you're trying. So there
Yeah.
are no such thing as mistakes. And you never know, that person may remember because of that moment. You know what I mean? So but it's hard. It's hard to put yourself out there. It's hard to put yourself out there in front of somebody that you don't know. And
Yeah.
it's very, very anxiety producing. So I give you a ton of credit for stepping up and doing it. And you did the whole package. I've never been to the Audis before. I'll probably go in 2 years. Our daughter lives in New York, and she's like, "Dad, I'll go with you." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it."
Oh.
But it would be lovely and fun. But I had to get back to
Yeah.
do some audiobook narrating, so I had to come back,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So I didn't attend this year. But you did, right? You went to the whole kit and caboodle.
I was like, man, if I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be
Just do
here.
it.
So
Yeah, just do it.
I did it, and I had the help back home in order to be able to stay a little longer, and I could justify it a little bit monetarily. So I was like, I'm gonna do it, and I did it, and I was really glad that I was able to support my friend Blanca, and Jack Hill was also there, another the co-narrator, one of the co-narrators for the book, the beta that they were finalists in the erotica category for. And it was just so nice being able to see them the morning of the Audis and have breakfast and, just be like, you guys are great. It's going to be fun. It'll be fine. And being able to hold their hands, and they're like, going to wait and find out who got it and feeling the nerves, but just being able to be there to support them it was wonderful. That was awesome. And I'm homeschooled, right? So I'm from a tiny little town, like 500 people in my hometown. And so, um, the school system wasn't the best. And so my family was like, we can do better. We're going to homeschool. So I didn't get like the prom experience. I didn't get any of those go get dressed up and get fancy and get your hair did, get your makeup done. I didn't really do any of that and I never wear makeup. So I was like, I had fun. I got to get all fancy and do a red carpet thing and it was cool.
I saw the pictures on social media. You guys look like you were having a ball. Having
So
a
much
ball.
fun.
Yeah, so much fun.
And
Um,
so inspiring. So inspiring
yeah.
to hear the winners be so humble and to hear them just laud every single person in the room who is an audiobook narrator, who is a producer, who is a proofer, who is a part of creating these books, this type of media that helps so many people in various ways. Um, it was very inspiring to be in a room where you're being recognized for 90% of the time doing stuff alone in a tiny little closet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our time to shine. It's our time to be
Yeah.
out there and interact and socialize and celebrate and all those wonderful things. So it's a wonderful thing, and I'm looking forward to attending in a couple of years. Um, any other? Is it okay to share how many books you've done so
Yeah,
far?
sure.
So where are you at in terms of your journey, in terms of the titles you've done?
In terms of my journey, available right now to listen, I believe we are at 12. By the end of the month, we might be at 15.
That's
Um, by the end of the year, we might be at 40. Things are going, they're going well.
so a couple of questions. I know you touched on a couple of obstacles. Any other obstacles that kind of come to mind in your relatively new journey into the world of audiobook narration, and then what are the exciting plans that you have for 2025?
Obstacles will have to be the experience level and not just in being a narrator. As we said at the beginning, it's not just your voice, it's not just reading, it's that performance, it's that understanding copy, as you said, and being able to feel it, and not just read it. Um, I've never been an actor. I've never wanted to pursue that. It was never like a goal of mine, so I never really practiced that. I found coaching to be extremely helpful with learning to go there, and learning to be a little extra and then come back. Don't hold back to start. Go extra and then bring it back if you need to. And learning to trust when you feel something that you're being authentic and you are feeling it. Let that happen. So that's been probably one of my most difficult things is learning to act and trusting that I am actually like doing the thing. Um, that's been difficult. Uh, yeah. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, that's and then time. time is rough. I'm a part-time narrator. I don't do this full time. And with, again, competing priorities, trying to now balance getting books booked and getting auditions. And oh gosh, auditions, you just see them. It's like candy, but you're already full, but it's like your favorite candy. It's really hard to say no, but you're part-time, you have priorities, and figuring out, what the balance should be has been very difficult. Uh, Trying to decide, at what point do I want to try to do this full time? What could justify that? Just those are some different things I'm currently still figuring out for myself.
Yeah, and I know that when I started, I owned a brick and mortar business, so I had a full-time commitment as well as family and 4 children, a wife, home. So yeah, there's a lot of competing things, a lot of early morning and late night recording and narrating and auditioning. And I remember one of my early coaches, Mark Cashman, had said, he said, you'll know when the time is right. You'll know when the balance has tilted enough that you feel confident that you've built up your body of work, that whether it's voiceover, podcast producing, audiobooks, whatever that may be. He said, you'll know you're actually in a really good position because you do have a job that's paying your bills. So
Mhm.
you're able to build your body of work while you're continuing to do this full-time job. And then when you're ready, you'll go. And there are other people I also know, veteran audiobook narrators who are doing it part-time because they like their day job and
Mhm.
they enjoy doing this. And one in particular, friend, he said, all my money from audiobooks just goes into my retirement account. And that's just going to be my retirement job when I retire. So for me, I don't have to be dependent upon it to pay my bills. I don't want to. I enjoy my
Yeah.
job. So the nice thing about audiobook narration is that we do have that flexibility. You can do it part-time, you can do it full-time, anywhere in between. I think ultimately, if I had to guess, you might want to do it full-time.
We'll see. I do love it. So now the whole switch thing in terms of go full time or part time. You'll know. I realized when the switch happened for me from this being I need money. Like that's I'm very 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 open about why I got into this. It switched though pretty quickly. I'd say it was when nonfiction started to go away and when I saw my first ever royalty share project, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start auditioning for royalty share because I want to. I want to do something that I would read for fun, like that I would go and see on a shelf and read. I want to do that. And I took a royalty share project and I was like, I think I kind of like I think I might have a passion for this. I think I enjoy this. That switch happened probably about 6-8 months into doing this. I was like, I kind of love this. So we'll see what happens for 2025. I have a pseudonym. I do romance as Audrey O'Bain. That is my romance pseudonym. I do everything else as Carmen Seantel, and damn, Audrey is getting so much work. Good for her. Good for her. But but Carmen's getting jealous. I'm very excited that I just got contracted to do my first ever children's book, which is so exciting. I'm really excited to do that as Carmen. And there's a couple others coming up. That's nothing at all to say negative against romance, but man, I think that that's normal. You start to just be like, I don't want to be just one thing, right? I don't want that. And so I'm happy that I get to diversify a bit. And that's coming up for 2025 is a lot of fun romance, and a few smatterings of other things here and there for 2025.
That's wonderful. And I know in terms of coaching, you've coached with our mutual friend, PJ Oakland, who's wonderful.
I have.
And you did tell me that you're going to be participating in their masterclass as well, which is a great opportunity. Tell us a little bit about that.
Coaching has been great. The way that I justified coaching at first was I was in that competition with 26 others that had gotten selected, and they, in my opinion, all had way more romance or performance experience than I did. And I'm like, oh my God, because that competition was based on votes and putting yourself out there and doing videos and oh, so many things that I never did. And being judged, like asking that, like seeking judgment. Oh boy. So I was like the first ever task we had in that competition. It's like a American Idol style. Each week or each month, each whatever, there's a different like genre or focus. The first one was the acting challenge. I was
Oops.
like, "Oh God." So I reached out to the narrators that I had in my community at that time, and I was like, "Who would you go to coaching? Who's your coaching person?" And I got a bunch of different names. PJ was one of the top names I got, so I worked with him, and it was amazing. I worked with Marnie Penning on character voices, and she's the one who really helped me to learn to like just throw yourself at it. Then you can pull back. I worked a little bit with Joel Frumpkin. I have some really, everybody has habits that are good or bad. I had some bad ones that he helped me to identify, which was helpful. There were several others that I worked with here and there just for like onesie twosie things, except for Vanessa Moyen. I worked with her on a repeat basis when I started to book with more production companies to kind of understand the difference between what I had been doing, which was a lot of indie ACX things, independent author ACX type do it all yourself, to starting to have relationships with production companies and publishers. And Vanessa Moyen helped to coach me through kind of what that looked like. Um, and that was really, really helpful. So that was my experience with, the coaching, that coaching aspect. With the masterclass, that's going to be a lot more, um, pretty much what that competition was. I'm putting myself out there in front of people to ask for feedback. I understand it's not judgment. It's feedback now. It's good. It's critical feedback that will help you.
All positive level ups.
All good. So that's what the masterclass. I'm expecting it to be like. There's something like that happens with the Penguin Random House mentorship that I'm in, where they do a showcase. Oh God! And I just recently reread what the showcase means. Um, and we are apparently in front of their entire like production or casting people, and you read for 3 minutes. So that's coming.
They have a lot of
Oh, and
producers
then
too.
yeah. And then there's the APAC. If you sometimes you can get selected to do the meet the producers thing, where you get to meet somebody who produces audiobooks, somebody who's usually maybe from, maybe a smaller company or one of the big five publisher companies. And so that's coming too in the next 6 months. There's going to be a lot of just putting myself out there and breathing, lots of breathing.
And that, my friends, is the way to do it, because if you kind of have pieced together how Carmen has kind of gone through her path, over the last 2 years or last year and a half, she's been doing all the right things for all the right reasons, because and the most important thing takeaway for me is, before I ask you your golden nugget question, is that the ability to network not only with colleagues but also with people that will hire you. This is a network system that we live in. It's not linear. It's not I do this, this, and this will happen, because it doesn't work that way. It's more, you've got to have it's like a wheel with a lot of spokes on it. You've got to keep putting those spokes out there, and in the right ways, getting better at what you do, learning your craft, and networking with people that can either refer you, support you, or hire you. And that's the name of the game. And you're seeing it now come to fruition, getting more and more traction, getting more opportunities to put yourself out there in front of people that are going to potentially, and I've heard you on social media and with the people that you're working with, I'm fairly certain that they're going to hire you because they're going to like what they hear. So, but you're doing it the right way. So I just want to join the group of people that giving you support, because everything you're saying makes perfect sense to me. It's the right way to do it.
Thank you.
Now, the final question. Sometimes this is the most difficult one. People struggle with this one, so I don't know if you will. Hopefully not. But if you were sitting down with an aspiring voice actor or audiobook narrator and you had to give them one single piece of advice, what do you think that would be?
I did think about this because I did study on this question you asked me previously, and I was like, man, the first one you want to go to is what everybody says, which is just do it, right? They say just do it, just get out of your analysis paralysis and do it, because if you never start, you never go anywhere, right? So just do it. That's the first one that came to mind, and I was like, well, everybody says that. Let's do something better.
Let's do something
And I
else.
think what you just said is so accurate with, and that's kind of where I was going with it. It's like, just do it's one thing. But a lot of folks say, well, how do I start? And I've seen different, how to be a narrator, how to be a voice actor. I've seen different people with their steps, and there's no one way. And I think that the thing I would tell somebody is what you just said, what works best for you, what's your way, what's your why, that's yours. That's enough. go with it. If you think that starting out, the best way for you to start out is to just, you know, get your microphone and start reading, do it. If you think the best way to start out is to research and get coaching and you know, feel like you are already ready to go and read a book on your own and do your own little narration thing on the side, and see if you can, stand being in a booth for hours at a time before you actually start auditioning, do it. It's like whatever works best for you is right for you. I don't think there's really a wrong way. There might be, but not that I can think of right now to getting into this. And then, yeah, that community thing. If there was something I could have told me when I first got started, because I'm thinking aspiring, what would I tell an aspiring narrator? Well, I was. What would I have told me? What Ruthie told me. Find your community. Like get out there. Even and don't build up. Build horizontally. Find your peers. Find your folks that are within, kind of the realm of where you're at. Surround yourself with people who are galloping and people who are kind of just walking slow but doing their own thing. But find your community horizontally. I think that having folks now that I knew in March, April of last year, and we're all in different places now, but we're all still moving forward. It's so nice to have that. And it makes those days of imposter syndrome and burnout and, oh my God, how many more auditions before I actually get picked up? It makes those days easier to get through.
It's a great piece of advice. And somebody who's a fellow voice actor, she had told me once, she used the compass analogy. She said that it's a north, south, east, and west. And she said throughout your career, there are those people who are north of you, who are farther ahead than you are. You're going to want to reach out to them and ask them for help, ask them for advice. And those people who are on either side of you, east and west, those are your peers. Those are the people that are traveling the path with you.
Mm-hmm.
They're there to support you. And then those on the southern part of the compass are the people that are a little bit farther behind you. And those are the people that, just like the people who are north of you, reached back and helped you, you're going to reach back and help them as your career progresses. And I love that analogy. And those peers that you're developing, that network of people that you're developing, you are developing that compass. And it will serve you well throughout your career. No question.
Definitely.
So before we wrap up, thank you for all this amazing information. Where can people find you?
Well, I am on acx.com still. I am also on Ahab, which is another one of those websites. I have a website, Carmen Seantel. Seantel is spelled weird, I know, but it's Carmen, Carmen, Seantel, Seantel.com. I have a website now. It's still under development, but it's there and it's purple, so you know it's me. I also have a link tree on all of my social media accounts, which is Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, YouTube. Man, there's a lot. I'm out there, and I'm literally Carmen Seantel narrator on all of them. One word.
Perfect. Love it. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your journey with my listeners. And Carmen, I wish you continued success on your journey.
Thank you, and thanks so much again for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the Mike Lenz VO Podcast. Head on over to MikeLenzVOPodcast.com for links and recaps of each show. Catch you next time on the Mike Lenz VO Podcast.